I'd spent 20 years building a military internet company and was very familiar, therefore, with networks, data and interoperability. And then around 2013, I had a small business, and I could see that with some changes and using that military experience, we could solve a fundamental problem that I saw arising in personal data, just fairly early, and that is what our key purpose is, and that is to accelerate the velocity of personal data sharing. Now that sounds a bit of a mouthful. Velocity is the most important word, because if you think of velocity of money, that's the GDP, the value in the economy. If we want to increase the value with data, we have to share it more. So the question is, how can you accelerate that velocity of personal data sharing, but do it with privacy, security, and consent at its heart? And that's what we solve. So if you're a business, a service, a government, and you want more and better customer data or patient data or citizen data, choose your name, then the idea is that DigiMe is that solution, and it's done in a wholly ethical, trustworthy manner, which is legislatively compliant, and where the individual is fully in control. Think of personalized medicine. If you're going to have medicine that's about you, and that is considered to be the future of where we need to go to medicine, you've got to share your health data since you were born, advanced wearables, genomics, the food you buy and eat, and even your social data, because it's an indicator of mental state. You can't bring that data together today. It's impossible. No company can bring that data together because of all the stovepipes and the complexity, even if you ignored privacy. So we can't actually move to where we need to move to in personalized medicine, but also personalized banking and retail and every interaction we've got. So you have to understand the fact that the big problem is, how do we bring data together? How do we aggregate data together? And in fact, there's only one entity in the system that can do it, and that is you, because only you know where all your data is, which bank accounts, which social networks, which health services. Only you have a right for all of the data. And only you have unlimited usage rights. So I can print off my medical data and put it on the window of the car and drive it around. No one else can. So if you're going to aggregate rich data about an individual, you have to do it at the individual. It's as simple as you, the individual, create and get a full copy of all of your data. So you become the master set. Only you can have all of your health and finance and social and everything else. You hold it. And then if anybody wants more and better data, they come to you and say, for this purpose, do you want to share your data? And if you say yes, great. And if you say no, also great. So we basically put the individual in the center. They have all the data, and it's not hard for them to achieve that. And they can share it for a value proposition, which is a service, a convenience, or a reward. It's not just about money. It's if you have a diabetes app that wants your wearables data and your medications to keep you alive, hey, that's a really good service. And I'm going to share my data for that purpose. And I want to do that. But each of us will have different things we want to share for. So basically, DigiMe enables you to get your data and then to share it under your control. Simple as that. So that's what DigiMe does. So the first half is we enable you using APIs, making it very simple to get that data. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're a health app or a health service, or you're in retail and you want to tailor things, or in banking, etc. You want more and better customer data. What you now do is, all you have to do, the user journey is so simple. The company just has to register what's called a consent certificate, which is a standard way of expressing what it is they're asking you for and what they're going to do with the data. And it meets what's called the bar for explicit and informed consent. So you know exactly what the purpose is, you understand it very simply. So they register for that. They get a token, which is just a cryptographic key, basically. And all they have to do is push that into our API. You as an individual will then see that certificate displayed in front of you through the magic of technology, and you understand it. And if you say yes, and you've already authenticated your data channels, then your DigiMe will extract a copy of the data that the certificate says and pass it directly to the Apple service. And what that means is the service can get access to data they could not otherwise get at all, in one call, all fully privately, securely, and with consent. We also do a thing called normalizing, which takes all the horrible formats of data and puts it into one. And it just simplifies the whole process so that we've democratized data, but always with the individual in control. So it solves the big problem of data availability, which most people forget about, as well as solving the problem of privacy, security, and consent, because that comes with it when you do it at the individual. We totally believe in the individual at the center. We don't see, touch, or hold data. It's all done at the edge. So, we've got 3 fundamental principles of privacy, security, and interoperability. So the data is the individuals. We are just what is called a data facilitator. Our job is to help the individual get the data and to share their data. Now, it's all free for the individual because the individual doesn't cost us much because it's primarily edge processing. So what we do is we kind of act like, in the one half for the individual, we act as their librarian, helping them get their data and hold it all for years. Then the other half, we're a postman. So we've enabled, as I've explained, with a consent certificate, a business to ask the individual. So when the business asks the individual, the value exchange is between the two of them, right? So in the diabetes thing, I'll give you money for the app and here's my data because the value exchange is you keep me alive. Maybe in the retail example where I'm sharing some data so they can show me clothes which are more likely to be what I want, the value exchange maybe I'll get 10% off or loyalty points, or maybe just my convenience of time. But whatever it is, it's between the business and the individual, nothing to do with us. We're just a postman, and we charge the business 10 US cents each time data flows, so that we get our money by the business paying for the service fee. So just like you won't, when you send a check or you do some business through the post, the mail service or the courier doesn't look inside the envelope, doesn't care what the value exchange is, they're just passing the mail from one to the other. We're exactly the same. We're the courier service. So it's a fixed fee, and what the value exchange is between the two. So we're completely ethical. We don't get involved in the value exchange. We're not there. Our job is to be a librarian and a postman for the individual. And we charge 10 cents. And by the way, that is capped at $3 per user per service per year. And there's special rates for, if it's for charitable purposes or whatever, we waive the fees like most companies, good companies, ethical companies would do. Now, legislatively, we're in a pretty good place. Most of the data is available in most places, not in all countries, but in a lot of countries there are. In the EU, for example, there's GDPR, which has data portability, so that makes it very easy. I always say, if you copy the EU for a couple of things, data portability, so you always have a right to your data, and always when you share the data, it must always be with consent, which is explicit and informed, other than various legislative reasons and stuff. Then the only thing that's missing, if you like, from GDPR is when they said data portability, they didn't mandate that companies use an API. So companies can, if they want to be rather sneaky and just give it you as a file and make it really difficult. Now, I think over time, the pressure on companies will be such that we as individuals wouldn't use them if they make it too difficult for us to get the data back. But in the interim period, we always say that we really should specify that data portability is with a well-formed API. And I know the EU are considering upgrading GDPR to say that. They haven't done it yet. But we don't need much. The reality is that already today, right, in Europe and the US, Australia and some other places, individuals can already get vastly more data about themselves than the Facebook, Googles, Axims of the world have. And businesses already have access to that, including full health data, which has never really been able to flow properly before. So it's more a question now of the ecosystem has to grow. So it's a small nugget and some companies using it. And as that will grow and grow and grow. So there is always legislative things that should be there, and legislation must bound and make sure that companies like us are doing it properly. So you'll see that the EU has got a new Data Governance Act coming in next year. And it says that companies like us, what they call data intermediaries, must be independent, have fair access and some other rules which are totally fair. So you would always expect that. But actually, I think the biggest thing holding us back is, or this new area back, is purely people's knowledge that it exists. Knowledge that as a business, a service, a government, researchers, you can get the data. You just got to ask the individual. It's all available today. So it's more a knowledge and an awareness thing. It's the holding factor.